Good morning, Gould families. It looks like we have people logging on, so we'll just leave a couple more minutes. Top off your coffee, grab another cup of tea, and we'll just start in a few as we give some time for people to log on. Looks like we're up to 24. Excellent. A little bit more coming on. Just so you know, if you're not in the Western Maine area, when I look out the window, sitting at our kitchen table right now, I see a significant amount of snow covering the ground. And I hope when you look out your window, you're seeing something that looks a little more like spring than we're seeing right now. You can practice a little bit if you haven't done a Zoom session yet, putting in a Q&A. So if you do have some questions queued up, we'll be happy to answer those questions, or if you just want to practice to see if it works, just hit that Q&A and just say practicing, or give us a little weather report. If you have sunny skies, maybe some green grass, I think these people in Western Maine would love to have any reports that spring is actually happening somewhere. It'd be very reassuring to us right now, because we are covered in snow. Good morning, May Tong. I'm looking at some of the participants right now, and it's great to see some advisee families. Panelists, I recommend you can do that as well. You can click the participant attendee button, and you can see some of the great faces that showed up this morning, or maybe are finishing their dinner with us this morning. So thanks for making time and bringing us into your spaces. And I think we will get started. And for all of us, welcome. I wish to give you a big, warm hello. Welcome to Gould. And as teachers, I think I speak for everyone. It has been so great to see your children. And this is a little bit of a flipped Parents Weekend. Usually we rely on you right now to give us some insight, what you've been seeing with your children at home. Just like on Parents Weekend, you sometimes rely on advisors and teachers to give some insight as to what we're seeing daily. So this is a little bit of a flipped relationship, but the same things matter. We're going to work together to make sure that your child feels connected, your child is finding success in classes, and you're feeling the support of the community as we move through this. I'll ask each panelist to introduce themselves, just so you can remember who we are, and with a special focus on how, as we created this remote learning plan, what part of it they can really help you with questions, so that we can move forward. I'll model. Sarah Schifrin, you'll usually see me in the library with the seminar program, teaching human geography, and I can really help you with questions you might have about supporting a learning or work environment for your student at home. And Brad, I'll pass it over to you. Oh, we got to practice the mute button. There we go.
Sorry about that. So good morning, I'm Brad Clark, Assistant Head of School for Teaching and Learning. I can certainly help you with just about any question, but in particular, questions around academic scheduling can certainly help you with that. This morning, we'll be talking about the remote learning schedule. So any kind of academic questions, happy to help you with. Been part of a team that's been working on rolling out the non-academic parts of Gould. So maybe later this morning, we'll introduce that and talk about the exciting clubs and co-curricular activities that we're going to be rolling out next week. So those are all areas I'm happy to talk to you about. Thank you.
I'll go next. I'm Brooke Libby. I'm your Director of College Counseling. Also can help with kind of all pieces, but as we rolled out the learning plan, I was thinking quite a lot about the curricular implications for students coming forward, in particular as they apply to college in the next several years. And I was also monitoring over March break the best practices as the colleges were rolling out their remote learning plans just a week or two ahead of ours. So we were trying to model ourselves after a lot of those good practices.
Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason Chase. I'm Director of Technology here at Gould Academy. You can rely on me for technical assistance in any issues with Zoom or Canvas, our learning management system. Also, if your child has problems with their Gould-issued laptop, we have a program where we can ship a replacement laptop directly to you and send you a box so you can ship the broken one back to us. We're here to help in the morning from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can also reach us at 207-824-7999, or you can send an email to helpdesk@gouldacademy.org.
Great, thank you, Jason. Adam.
Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to Western Maine on a Saturday morning. I'm the chair of the World Language Department and I teach some history courses. I had a little bit of a hand in helping to craft this program, and one of the things that we focused on was really prioritizing simple solutions. So if anyone has questions concerning communications, concerning the sharing of resources, please feel free to ask me.
And Peter.
Can't hear me.
There we go.
Hi, Pete Moses. Let's rewind that. I'm Pete Moses, and I'm the Director of International Student Programs and also of the English Studies program. And I'm also the Director of the Spring Musical, as well as the Faculty Advisor for the Gould Student International Student Global Student Organization and our Guerrilla Improv Troupe. I'm working on developing some other distractions and activities, fun things that the students could log on to and be involved in as far as that goes with the theater and the musical, and any questions that you might have if you have an overseas, an international student, please feel free to contact me, Pete Moses. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, that's a little bit of who we are, and we are here to help you. So if there are any questions, you can just type them in your Q&A panel, and I've got it queued up so I can, what I'll do is I'll ask them out loud, because your question is probably a question 3 other people have, and then we'll go to the right person to get you the best answer. Great. Pete, is the musical still going on? How? When? What kind of ideas do you have for this?
We're currently looking at different alternatives as to what platforms we could possibly use to get together with the performers of the musical, and what we might be able to do in that regard. I'm working with Heidi Motor, our musical director, and we're looking at platforms and how we can sync it up. It's a little bit difficult with the connection on Zoom to get a good musical performance on that, but we're still looking into that, and that should be coming out probably midweek next week. We'll have an answer for that.
Great, thank you. And please feel free if you have a follow-up question as well. I know it's not musical related, but we are looking to launch quarantine karaoke across the Gould community. And it's certainly a little bit of a warm up. We get that kids are feeling the loss of their community and also the loss of their activities. It is definitely not as fun to sing with your mother in the kitchen as it is to sing with your friends on the stage. And we are all looking at other schools and trying to piece together the best thing possible for things like the music. So we have a great, really practical question that, Brad, I'm going to toss your way. What if we do if our child is sick during the time? Do we need to call in? What is that process?
Remember this unmute thing. Sorry about that. So that's a great question. We hope that that doesn't happen with a lot of our students, but of course it may this spring. The first person you'd want to talk to is your child's advisor, and then your advisor would be communicating back to us at school, and we'd be looking to excuse some of the work while the child is sick, and really treating it just like we treat it here if your child was at campus, seeing our nurses in the health center. So we really want to take care to balance students' academic work with their health. So please communicate right away to the advisor.
Mm-hmm. And just to follow, that's some of the reason in the schedule design, we have advisory meetings so often. We want to make sure that we are seeing your child in our advisory group settings, which feels really normal. That's how we start our mornings. And then also building in time for one-on-ones. So if there's something that's coming up in a family that a student certainly doesn't want to share with everyone, we are establishing independent times to meet with advisees, and certainly they're figuring out how to email us and keep us up to date if they've been having some questions. So the more as parents, you can just do what you would normally do. Say, hey, have you checked in with your advisor about that? We are here for that. And also when it becomes a health center need, say, oh yeah, let's just call school, just like we did when you were home, and let them know that something's going on. And we are here to help, and it's okay to call any time of the day or send us a text if you're international. Another question, Brad, that I think is going to come your way. Because spring break was extended, will the semester be extended as well?
No, we're not planning on changing the length of the trimester. So the trimester will end when it's scheduled to end. We will have an announcement this coming week about the remainder of the spring term, and including commencement, baccalaureate, and everything at the end of the year. So please stay tuned next week. April 13th is the date we've targeted for an announcement about the rest of the trimester.
Great, thank you, Brad. Adam, I'm going to send this question your way because you've been working with the World Languages Department on content management and to think about how much to cover. And certainly what you would cover in French 1 impacts what you cover in French 2 and so on. So here's the question. There was indication from my daughter's advisor that the school is aiming to cover about 25% of the normal curriculum this spring. Is that true? And if so, how will the material be made up so that come fall, the students will be caught up with the material? Are you thinking about summer school?
Well, it is clear that we're not going to cover the same amount of content if we were in a face-to-face situation. In fact, we're seeing for our freshmen and our sophomores, we're seeing them roughly for 3 hours a week between the synchronous time and the asynchronous time. And if we were together here on campus, we would be seeing your students probably about 8 hours a week. So we're certainly not going to cover the same amount of material. Our pacing, we've told teachers not to focus on pacing, not to try really to cover that material, but to instead have some basic learning of some key core concepts continue in this remote environment. And we understand that come next fall, all of our courses are going to have to backfill a little bit, and we'll have to make up some material. And we understand that. So the emphasis really is on comprehensibility. It's on getting people to take a deep dive, if you will, in fewer topics rather than try to cover a broad spectrum of material this term, and to allow basic learning to occur in this environment.
Can I add something on that?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, One of the ways that education has changed in the last 10 or 20 years is there's much more of an emphasis on skills than on content. So Gould teachers are less thinking about coverage or material, and we're really thinking more about what are the skills that your child needs for college or to advance to the next grade. So in some senses, this process of paring back has been helpful for teachers to really identify what are the essential skills for grade 10, or for graduating or going on to college. And I think the other thing I say is the 25% number you heard, that's a bit of an exaggeration. As Adam said, typically at Gould, we see your child in class for 4 hours per week in the fall term or spring term. In a typical class, they might have the same amount of work outside of class. So the figure that Adam cited of 8 hours, that would include the time your child is in class with other students, and then also the time outside of class that they're doing homework or doing projects. So it is true that for grade 9 and 10, we're reducing that intentionally this spring to 3 hours per week total, and we're decreasing for grade 11 and 12 to 4 hours per week. So for the juniors and seniors, it's roughly half the amount of time than they would quote unquote normally. And for the grade 9 and 10, it's slightly less than that. If anything, we erred on the side of being conservative and being cautious. This is something that we're watching. We're obviously only in our first week of remote learning. We're going to be sending out a parent and student survey this coming week, and we're going to be carefully looking at the data that comes in. And if we hear a lot from either parents or students that, for example, there's not enough work, or they have more time and they're excited to do more, that's certainly something we can look at this spring. So it is something that's on our mind, and we're really looking to gather the feedback next week from both students and parents.
And I would add that moving forward curricularly, we certainly, all of our teachers next year in courses that progress, particularly the math and languages, will be paying attention to how this year ended so that students pick up and fill any gaps that are needed to be filled. But also that colleges are really paying attention to what's happening in high schools around the country right now, and are really posting aggressive and warm-hearted statements about how they're going to treat transcripts and standardized testing moving forward. The acceleration in the test optional movement over the past month has been incredible, as many colleges are making SATs and ACTs, for instance, optional next year, and many other colleges are making it for the next 3 years, in acknowledgement of the fact that this group of high school students are going to have, is going to have a very different experience and may have some curricular gaps that aren't going to be reflected in those standardized tests. So I think you'll find that the combination of high schools paying attention to where students ended this year and colleges really paying attention to the longer term impacts on curriculum will hopefully cover those concerns.
Thank you. It is complicated, and I think we're very lucky to have, as a 9th and 10th grade parent, to have Brooke's eyes on understanding how this will play out and influence and even create opportunities for your child as they get ready to apply for college. So it's really great to have that perspective at the beginning of a student's journey. One question about the residence being open for international students during summer break if they decide to stay in the United States. And nothing's been decided yet about dorms. Certainly as this continues to evolve globally, we are guiding with best practices with the CDC, and just like everyone else, checking the news every day and checking our networks just to make sure that when we do reopen, everyone is as safe as possible. So stay tuned on that. The Gould COVID-19 update page is refreshed as soon as there's something relevant, and certainly reach out to Brad or Mr. Garicki when you have questions about that specifically. But right now we're in a holding pattern with everyone else. One question about Canvas. Many parents, and I appreciate the specificity, you're hearing your child say, oh, it's not on the Canvas calendar, where are my assignments? And you're right to recognize assignments have been moved into a systemized module delivery method, which for some students is new because teachers were assigning things through calendar. And that's great feedback, and we'll give that to our teachers to make sure that when we have synchronous sessions, that we spend time looking at the Canvas page together. We can do that through screen sharing and just walk the student through as many times as possible so they understand how the information is organized. Modules became a good organizing choice in case someone gets sick. They can just know, okay, I know I was out for module 2 and 3, and they don't have to look at due dates. So it becomes a categorization principle that makes it easier if you have to slide out for a little bit, and then also to think about what is coming up. But please, and we'll remind our teachers to spend time either in class and during office hours to help students understand how that module and function now works. And that's great feedback. Thank you. Another question, and I can grab this one. Brad alluded to, we've been working on this. The question is, can some sort of sport practice be included in the schedule? Some physical activities that can be done at home with coaching from Gould so that the children will not be completely couch bound. Yes, I think we're all feeling couch bound right now. And this week we'll be rolling out what we call the Hub, and it will be a place on Canvas that students can go and they will be invited. Their sports teams are starting practices again, and there'll be a combination of just getting together and sharing what the athletic hopes and co-curricular hopes were, combined with workout ideas. And sometimes they're building in competition ideas, because we understand you as parents are working from home and now feeding a lot of kids at home, and you're watching your kids try to get their work done. And if we can take off the plate the athletic piece, that's what we love to do. We love to be outside with your kids playing, and we know how to do that with them well. So we're just going to flip that to virtual. And as Peter mentioned, we are lining up clubs and what we call distractions, just ways for kids to log on. And like there's a cooking class with Doug Alford that's coming up. And Peter's hosting Guerrilla Improv, which the kids really love to do on weekend duty. And so we're building that out and rolling that out to kids this week. So as a parent, I would say the phrase would be, hey, have you checked the Hub to see what's happening for sports today, or what activities that you could participate in? And that's a great question for them to remind them. It's something new we're rolling out. And it's really a digital bulletin board where there's information about Zoom meetings and what that activity or club is doing. So just get in that mindset of like, hey, did you check the Hub to see what's going on? Just like they check Canvas to see what's going on for classes. So I think that hits a couple workout sports questions, as we're all wondering, body weight workout is now a real thing. One question, Brad, about tuition that I'll put to you, I'll read it. What happens for tuition about this semester? For example, residence fee and others, will a refund be happening?
Yeah, there's been no decision made on that. So we'd like to keep the questions for this session about teaching and learning. We understand those concerns, and I'd suggest with that type of concern to pass that on to either Chris Garicki, the head of school, or Bill White, our CFO.
Thank you, Brad. A great suggestion to think about how to give kids some feedback on their participation and for sports activities, grade them, or an honor system. Currently, we're rolling the program out as volunteer. We're encouraging kids, and I suspect once students feel the pull of the team and what we like to sometimes call positive peer pressure and positive herd mentality of getting on board, I think that we're going to find most kids are starting to participate. And if you are noticing that your student's not, the best way to approach that is email the advisor, just like you would do if it's regular Gould. You would say, hey, I'm not sure my kid's doing a sport. Can you help me out? Can you look into this? And what the advisor will do in those one-on-one meetings is really talk through what's going on, how are you spending your day, and really help that student see that physical activity is a critical part of getting through this in the best way possible. So lean on the advisor. We are here to help that conversation. You don't have to have that conversation alone. We've got your back. Let's see if we've got anything else. So far, no other questions are coming in. So I'm going to turn it over to the panelists and ask them, we haven't prepared for this. So if you see them like their eyes go in their head, they're just getting a quick thinking about it. Can you please share a highlight of working with students remotely? What's been something unexpected and really exciting? Brad, we'll lead with you,
Sure.
then we'll move to Adam.
Yeah, it's surprising. My first class on Tuesday with my seniors in AP Gov, our discussion that day was about different governments around the world and how they've responded to the COVID-19 crisis. And it was amazing how natural and, it felt just like class. The first 10, 15 minutes of class, the kids were just so excited to see each other, so excited to see me. I was so excited to see them. Was kind of chatting with Denise Manning after her first class. And, for us as teachers, it really is what we love to do. And that reconnection with kids is just, it's this visceral, hit you right in the heart. So there was that emotional component to it. And then also the intellectually, just how bright our students are, how carefully they had read, their insight to different countries around the world, insights into South Korea, into Taiwan, into Hong Kong and Germany, and how different countries have responded. So just both an emotional reaction and also just the intellectual stimulation that I think all of us as teachers miss. That's why we do what we do. It's the heart and the mind connecting with our students. So that was my Tuesday. Thanks for asking.
I would say for me, I don't teach big classes all the time, but more of my work with students is one-on-one. And what I've appreciated is how emotionally present the students are. We always talk one-on-one, but something about this really face-to-face platform has made the conversation seem strangely more intimate. And also hearing students share how much they miss Gould. It's easy sometimes in the hubbub of the day and feeling tired, or somebody just said something that bothered you, to kind of not express that. But students have been telling me in such heartfelt ways how much they miss us and how much they miss school and being together. And so it's been really a gift they've been giving me.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, I've been so impressed by the engagement of many of our students, not only in our classes, but I've been able to visit with and work with and just have wonderful conversations with kids in the afternoons during office hours, in the evenings during the help centers. In fact, we've been able to work on extra material. I've given, interestingly enough, an assignment to some of my students where they have the opportunity to go out and to preview a number of films, 70 different little short films, and work with films and so forth. And some of the kids have taken it on. And last night at 10 o'clock in the evening, I was having conversations about films with kids. So it's really been a neat opportunity, I think, for some of our students to really focus on material that they are interested in and that they can pursue in an even deeper fashion than if they were maybe here on campus and operating according to a traditional curriculum. So the agency, the engagement, the involvement of our students has really impressed me over this first week.
Yeah, I'd like to just pick up on that and say that I agree that these conversations have become very intimate and very close, and it's great when I'm in a Zoom classroom with my students who are around the world, in Chengdu, in China, in Japan. It's so interesting to hear their take, as Brad mentioned, to hear their take about what's happening in their part of the world, and also with this kind of platform, they can pull things up, and we are allowed to share each other's screens. We can look at what they're looking at. They shared some videos, some music, some things that they've been doing. It's very interesting and exciting, and a different way to communicate and to connect with our students. So I've been really excited about that and had a lot of fun with that. And I think the students really enjoyed that too. And it's a different way to connect and be a community.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It is pretty amazing that education has flipped so quickly, and we are finding lots of strategies to keep them moving intellectually. But I sense that if we could have all your children here right now, they would say they miss their friends, because the teenage years are relational years. It's where they do a lot of their identity stretching. And one of the warm things about Gould, and I remember it as an alum, is because of the community size, it wasn't too overwhelmingly big nor too small. I was able to stretch into meeting lots of different people, and lots of different parts of my personality was activated because of these relationships. And that is, I think, what your children are missing. They know how to do school because they've been with us in school for a while. And this relational piece, how do we keep their friendships going in purposeful ways, is critical to us. And I'm going to ask Jason Chase to show you a little preview. The kids haven't seen the hub yet, and we just have been rolling it out, trying to make sure that all the platforms that we use are equitable and accessible for all of our students. And the Canvas platform is the go-to. We don't want to just rely on a platform that maybe 75 to 85% of our students can access. We want to make sure that everyone has access. So Jason, if you could think about just kind of preview to the parents what that hub looks like. So they're going to see it before their children, which allows them to be a little more of the guide and the provocateur as the students of, I don't know what this hub thing is. And you get this like great parent moment. You'd be like, oh, that's so cool. Like just try clicking here and let's see what it happens. And they'll be amazed. And you don't need to let them know at all that we gave you a little preview. And so I'm going to let Jason take it over and show you the hub and just kind of walk you through, as a parent, you might use it. And it's still we're still populating content over the weekend. So thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Sarah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a view of Canvas from a student's perspective, specifically my daughter, Isabel Chase, who is a senior at Gould Academy. So I'm going to share my screen now. So what we're looking at now is the dashboard for Isabel's instance of Canvas. And at the top, you'll see you've been invited to join the hub as a student. So this is basically how all of our students join classes in the beginning of each trimester. They receive invitations, and hopefully they all accept. So I'm going to accept my invitation to the hub. And now if I look in my courses, I have the hub down here at the bottom. So the general idea behind the hub is kind of built into its name. It's a place where we're going to bring together our athletic, co-curricular clubs, which are our general structures that we have at Gould, but we're also bringing in what we're calling distractions and wellness. Wellness is obviously a big component at Gould. Distractions, you might think of those as like weekend activities that normally we'd be taking the students on, which we can't now because we're all separated, but we're still going to be having these activities for your children to join. Another key component of this is this will be our method for delivering announcements, whereas before a lot of those may have come out in assemblies, which maybe not all students can attend right now. We don't want anything to be missed, so we'll be driving our announcements through this area as well. So let's take a look at athletics and co-curriculars. We're going to be running all of the athletics and co-curriculars that we can. Each one of our faculty and coach leaders will be in charge of their individual sport and developing activities for students to participate in asynchronously, that would be on their own. I might, as the technology director, try to see if we can inject some synchronous activities, doing a little remote activity on smartphones with Zoom, perhaps. Who knows? We're gonna see how it works. Taking a look at our clubs, we're developing a bunch of pop-up clubs for your children. I'm going to take a stab at running or being the faculty sponsor for 3 of these. We've been running a computer science club at Gould for the past year, which has been pretty successful. One ambitious thing that we're going to try to do is rebuild the Gould campus and portions of Sunday River in Minecraft. I'm sure you've heard of Minecraft. It's a great creative tool, can be used educationally. And we're building a Minecraft instance here on a server that should be powerful enough so that every student at Gould Academy can join the Minecraft server at the same time and work together on a project. Also, I'll be hosting as maybe a club. We could also call this a distraction, but a gaming club where we'll be doing tabletop gaming like board games and maybe some D&D, video games, and we're going to dip our toe into esports and see if we can get an esports club going. So as Sarah said, we've been working on adding new content. Each one of these clubs will, and I should say athletic sports, will lead either to a page within the hub or to a separate Canvas course if we're going to be delivering, say, training plans on a regular basis. So let's just take a quick look at the Minecraft Building Gould and Sunday River Club. This is just a start, but information would be posted here on how to join, where to go, and how to connect to other people. Let's go back to the beginning here. I want to highlight the Learning Remotely link here at the bottom. 2 weeks ago, Sarah Schiffer and Brad Clark and I started developing the concept behind remote learning, and we developed a course for all of our faculty to take. Learning Remotely is a companion course in Canvas that helps walk the students through where to go, how to connect, and how to learn remotely, and also where they might need to go if they need technical support and how to contact us. So if your children haven't already, please point them towards the Learning Remotely course. We have definitely done a lot of outreach, sent multiple emails, invited them specifically to the course. I know that I've been pushing it within my own classes, but it's a good primer on how to work within this different environment that we find ourselves in. So if you have any questions about the hub, or think we've missed any part of maybe some important information that should be on in this resource, you can let us know in the Q&A, or you can send us an email later on. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. That's really helpful. One comment that came in during that is from a parent, and I just want to read the whole thing because I imagine she speaks for so many of you right now watching your children navigate this, holding their grief and their loss and their confusions and their questions and we're all seeing our children rise. And I just share, I think this parent captured it really, really well. I think this added responsibility is an important skill our son is getting during this time. He is really trying to rise to the occasion, to take control of his responsibilities in a way he struggles in a normal environment. His school day starts really early in California, and he's doing well so far, a very early wake up for him. And I think those moments to remember for your children, to celebrate, to acknowledge are critical. Everyone is rising to this occasion, and I think we are seeing our children recognize that they can do so much more than they thought they could do because of the disruption. And it's unpleasant, but I think in the long run, this age set of young adults are going to help us move forward as a world in ways we can't even imagine. And their global community that they have from Gould is allowing them to understand this experience, not just from their family or their community or their state, but at a global level. And I think that is the hope of school and why we continue school during this time. And we want to offer all levels of programming because this is formative experience for your children, and we're here to help them. And please, if your child isn't getting a shout out, just ding the advisor and say, you just need to know my kid is dragging out of bed to get to assembly. Can you just acknowledge that, or send a quick text? So helpful. And we won't say your mom called to tell us that you're doing a great job. We have secret ways of just acknowledging that. But we really can use any feedback you are seeing, just like the feedback you get from us when you come on Parents Weekend. It is a little bit of that flip. You are our eyes, our boots on the ground right now. One other comment. Our daughter couldn't wait to start up again. She likes being busy, having a schedule and organizing it. I see Miss Libby acknowledging that is her jam as well. She's doing well, and I'd love for her to participate in one of the clubs, and maybe a gentle push would be helpful. Thank you for all the hard work with your kids. The gentle nudge will certainly happen. It will roll out Monday. We'll be able to follow up in assembly and advisory groups. My sense is the first week, people will be a little disoriented. How does this work? And then it will just suddenly trend. I do know that the Gould students are figuring this out. Max Hessinger has already hosted a few all community meetups on Zoom all by himself. We were getting invited as faculty, and the screen had more little pictures of lovely people that we really missed than I could imagine possible on Zoom. So we will work together to nudge and make sure no one is lost in this process.
It's really helpful to hear how your kids are doing. If there are other parents that are attendees, and it's wonderful to hear how your kids are doing. So please feel free to share on the Q&A. That's been really helpful to hear.
And it's okay if your kids aren't doing so well. We need to know that as well. My son wants to stay in bed for some of his stuff, so I have to remind him that's not okay.
At my house, we have a son and a daughter who are both home from college. One's a senior and one's a first-year student in college. And so they're both doing remote learning right now. My wife is an elementary school principal, and she's teaching a 6th grade social studies class. So like a lot of families around the United States and around the world, many people in households are either remotely learning, remotely teaching. So we're sort of all in this together in some ways.
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on yesterday. At one moment, I was in a meeting like this. I could hear my son talking to one of his teachers. I could hear my daughter attending office hours with one of her professors in Chicago. I could hear Lilo participating in a classroom discussion and Dave teaching upstairs. So it was all happening at once. It was amazing.
So I'm not seeing any more questions come in, and I'm going to let Brad end the session just with a few details about how we can move forward and stay in touch. We've got one more coming in. Thank you. We'll grab this one. So we'll answer the question, then Brad, I'll let you roll it out. And thank you all for showing up Saturday. And we don't know if you're in your pajamas or not. So welcome to New Saturday Mornings. The question is, does the faculty endorse a particular learning environment at home? Should we try to alternate where our student engages? It's a great question. I think students are beginning to discover what's working and what's not working for them. And we've been coaching kids in terms of kind of Zoom screens, how things should look. We have some Zoom etiquette, but we'll add that question. I know in seminar, which is starting up again this week, we're doing some debriefing of that, just because we'll have kids in their grade level, and we are opening up that question, you know, how is it going? Where are you learning? How could you adjust? I think it's, as Brooke alluded, houses are crowded. We're all trying to find, I sometimes work at a closet right now. We're trying to find those spaces. So just take your cues from your child, and also just have that a normal conversation at night. How's your work environment going for you as parents, as children, as younger children? And just open that conversation, because that's sometimes where kids are like, all right, they asked a conversation not because I'm doing it wrong, but because like we're all curious, how is this working for us? And I think that's important. And I could say right now, Melissa, things are going really well in my class with Sam. He's doing a great job.
First, I'd kind of like to close by a big thank you to my teammates on the teaching and learning team. Over the past 2 or 3 weeks, it's been a very busy but very rewarding experience working with you all, and I'm really proud of what we've created together. So a big thank you for that. Parents, looking ahead to next week, as you heard Jason and Sarah talking about the hub, so look for that rolling out at the start of the week, and please ask your students about it. And then second, the survey will be headed towards you at the start of the week, so we'll have a separate survey going to students and going to parents. So we're looking to gather that feedback from you, and then at our teaching and learning team at the end of the week, we'll be looking at that data and making next steps in our remote learning program. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been really rewarding to have this dialogue with you this morning, and we look forward to more of this spring. As hard as it is to be apart, this technology offers us the opportunity, as Jason and others have said, to really come together and create community in different ways. So we look forward to that development this spring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
day. Have a good night.